Fiona Sinnott. She was a young woman who went missing from Wexford in 1998. Was Fiona a victim of crime? This case is strongly linked to Ireland's vanishing triangle, along with 8 other young women starting out their lives, only to disappear without a trace. The locals believe they know what happened to Fiona, but this cannot be proven. Today's case brings us to Ireland and to the county Wexford. For those living in Ireland and specifically Dublin will know Wexford for being a beautiful place, with great beaches and camping sites. I for sure have some great memories as a child here. Wexford was founded by Vikings in 800 AD, and there is no shortage of sightings to see, including the 13th century Ferns Castle, among others. The pubs in Wexford offer a great selection of food, if you're into pub grub. If not, there is sure to be a restaurant that will tickle your fancy. If you find yourself in the southeast of Ireland, you will not regret it. Wexford is a safe place with very low crime, but like other counties we covered, some of them have disappearances that baffle the locals and the whole of Ireland. And this was no different when Fiona Sinnott suddenly went missing on her way home in 1998. Fiona Sinnott, born in 1979, and she was 19 years old at the time she disappeared. She grew up in Bridgetown, County Wexford with her parents, being the youngest of 5 siblings. She was a happy, bubbly girl. She loved dancing and performing, and being at the centre of things. She loved the attention. She had an interest in the sport darts and planned on being a full-time chef in the future. She was mature beyond her age and would get into a relationship with a man named Sean O'Carroll, and he was 9 years older then when she was 15, and this made him 24. She then moved in with her boyfriend at the age of 17, to the worry of her parents. But she wanted to be free and independent. She wouldn't see her family every day like she used to, but she would see them weekly when they met for a coffee, and she was okay with this. Shortly after they moved in, when she was 17, Fiona became pregnant and had a baby girl called Emma. She was a great mom, and she was excited for their future. She loved every second of being a parent and what that brought to her life. When Emma was born, the couple moved again. They moved 16 kilometres away from her family home to a village called Ballyhit, just outside Broadway, which was further again from her family. You see, phones were not a common place back then like they are now. So you can't just pick up the phone and ring your family. So this would have been hard for a young girl away from her family. And without the car in a rural Wexford, 16 kilometres may as well have been 100. And the relationship she once had with her boyfriend was long gone. And 4 months after they moved in together in Broadway, the relationship ended. They were said to have fought a lot. A documentary about Fiona, which was released in 2019, say Fiona's partner allegedly may have assaulted her on numerous occasions before she disappeared, and this put her in hospital. It also said she may have been abused for 6 months into her pregnancy, and this showed up on her newly released medical records. She was kicked, bitten and beaten, all while she was pregnant. Fiona had visited her doctor after the breakup, as she was experiencing intense lows and she wanted some help. Fiona was now co-parenting with her ex and had no family close by for support, which would have been very tough on her, and her GP prescribed her with antidepressants to cope with this. On a course of the antidepressants, she began feeling a lot better in herself, and in her spare time she would work in a local pub to keep busy. And on Friday the 6th of February 1998, Fiona went out with her friends for a few drinks. And they went to the Tusker Rock Hotel in the nearby town Rosslare. Here she met a Welsh truck driver. She left the hotel with him and went back to his truck cab, parked nearby. It is claimed Fiona was in the truck when her ex-partner began banging and shouting for her to come out. And later on, according to the lorry driver, he unhooked the trailer and drove Fiona back to her house. He said he was scared for her, so he decided to drive her home safe. The next day, the Saturday, is unknown, and nobody knows what Fiona did that day. But on Sunday the 8th of February, Fiona met up with 3 of her female friends in the local pub Butler's, and she would leave here after closing time. The barman working that night said Fiona only had a couple of drinks and she was sober. She left at 10 past midnight and purchased 2 bags of peanuts, and she walked out alone. Her walk home would usually take her 40 minutes. In later interviews, according to Fiona's ex, they would bump into each other as Fiona was leaving the pub, and that he walked her home to her house, and he stayed on a couch while Fiona went straight up to bed, and they both fell asleep. The next morning before he left at around 9 a.m, he went up to check on Fiona, and Fiona said she was going to a doctor's appointment that day, and he gave her £3 for a taxi and then left. He was then picked up by his mother outside Fiona's house. Fiona would never show up for that doctor's appointment, and she has never been seen again. Fiona said to her sister on the Sunday night she would be popping over to visit the family on the Monday after the doctor's appointment, but she never made it there either. Fiona's family hadn't heard from her in a couple of weeks and got worried, and her father Pat reported her missing on the 18th of February 1998 to the Kilmore Gardaí station. The Garda then launched a full-scale investigation into the search for Fiona. The whole community rallied together and began helping in the search for Fiona. They scoured the whole of Wexford for her, looking in ditches and fields, digging up holes and turning over anything that looked suspicious. And Fiona's family had great respect for the whole community for this. The family knew Fiona would never run away. She was excited to celebrate her daughter's first birthday, which was coming up on the 27th of February, and she would never in a million years miss this. Not to mention Fiona's sister's 21st was a day before, and she was looking forward to that also. Fiona's ex-partner's family had Emma the night of the disappearance. They would look after her on the weekends usually. Fiona had Emma Monday to Friday, then her ex would take her the weekend so Fiona could work. When Fiona didn't show up to collect Emma on Monday like usual, why didn't Sean or his family contact anyone to say, "No, where's Fiona?" A lack of communication between the families could have been to blame for this. In the initial investigation, possible leads and sightings were followed up on, but nothing would come from this, and Fiona just seemingly disappeared. The forensic examination then took place on the house Fiona lived in, for any possible evidence, and this would amount to nothing, and no sign of foul play was ever found. Mr. Alan Bailey, the lead detective on the case, stated, "A complete lack of clothing for Fiona or her 11-month-old child were found in the house, which was baffling. It was as if the house had been empty, and it looked like it was cleaned, and like Fiona and her daughter never lived there. A farmer who lived near to Fiona came forward after the disappearance, and he said he found a bunch of black bags on his land, and inside were items and documents with Fiona Sinnott's name on them. He thought it was someone illegally dumping them, so he set them on fire. Only afterwards he would see the news, and then he would see the name of the missing girl. Gardaí would believe it was someone trying to throw them off and make them think Fiona had run away. The investigators began interviewing witnesses, and the truck driver she was with a couple of nights before her disappearance was questioned. He cooperated with everything, and he had an alibi for when Fiona likely went missing. He was then released without charge. The couple would then come forward saying they were driving around the area at the time of the disappearance, and they heard a woman screaming. However, they didn't report this for years after the disappearance, as the couple were having an affair and they wanted to keep it secret. In June of 1998, Our Lady's Island Lake, close to where Fiona was last seen, was drained, but nothing and no trace of Fiona was found. Fiona's family were devastated. Her father stood there the whole time with his hands on his hips, just wanting his daughter to be found, wanting to know what happened to her. And sadly, in 2004, Fiona's father, Pat, died of a broken heart. He could no longer bear the pain of not knowing his daughter's fate. On the 16th of September in 2005, the prime suspect in the case was arrested, along with 5 others, 3 men and 3 women in total, who were close family links. The same morning of the arrest, the Gardaí announced they were treating the case as a full-on murder investigation, and the 6 were held in New Ross and Enniscorthy Garda Station, but were later released without charge. Fiona's family would set up a Facebook page asking people to send them tips on the case, and in 2013 they received the most credible one yet. A woman came forward and said where she lives, there was works being carried out on a house across the road from her, and the works were being carried out by Fiona's ex-partner the week of the disappearance. She said the house was going to be sold, and the opportunity to look on the grounds of the house may slip if they don't act quick. The police couldn't take action, so the family took matters into their own hands, and they began a dig on the location. Unfortunately, nothing was ever found at this location, despite the grueling hours and time that went into the search there. In 2006, Fiona's ex-partner Sean Carroll, he was brought up on charges of threatening to murder a man who was in a relationship with his sister. He was sentenced to 3 months in prison. He appealed and he won his appeal, and this would keep him out of prison. In February of 2017, attempting to reignite the case, Gardaí would go door to door on Broadway, near Fiona's house and her last sighting. From this renewed attention, a motorist came forward. He said he had seen a male and a female walk on the road near Kisha Cross, which was close to Fiona's house, and this was at around midnight on the night Fiona disappeared. However, none of these people have ever came forward, and the case remains unsolved, and Fiona's whereabouts are still unknown to this day. The frustrating fact for the family is they believe they know what happened to Fiona that night. And the family are not the only ones who believe this. Just like the Mary Boyle case, the village believe they know exactly what happened and who is to blame for her disappearance. Yet no justice has ever been brought forward to those involved, and no one has ever been charged. Yet there is more than one person in that tight-knit village who knows exactly what happened, and where Fiona's body may be. Two memorial plaques were put up nearby the pub where Fiona went missing, and her family were going to hold a special day to unveil them and to remember Fiona. However, before this could happen, the plaques were stolen, and the family believed the suspect involved in Fiona's disappearance was the likely suspect in stealing the plaques. Fiona's family eventually put a plaque in the seaside town she grew up in, and it remains there to this day. Fiona's daughter Emma was brought up by her ex Sean and his family, and the last time the Sinnott family had seen her was a week before Fiona had disappeared. She's in her early 20s now, and while the Sinnott family tried reaching out, they have never got a response. But they say they will continue to try, and they will never stop. The investigation into Fiona has never been closed, and it remains open to this day. If anyone has any information on this case, no matter how small, you can contact the Wexford Gardaí, or your local Gardaí, or the official Facebook page Fiona Sinnott Missing, which is ran by her family, with any of your tips or information relating to the case. The family want to bring Fiona home and give her the proper burial she deserves. Her 25th anniversary has just passed, and her family hope this can be the year we can bring justice to the people who deserve it, and bring peace to her family and the community alike. Thank you for watching. I will see you on the next one.